Welcome back to the channel, Racer X here, and today I want to talk a little bit about the 2026 Ram 1500. As many of you are well aware, the Ram 1500 is a cash cow for Stellantis. They sell a zillion of these. It is a very proven platform, and for 2026, after a one-year break, the Hemi is coming back. At least the 5.7 Hemi is coming back. But is it a good thing for this truck, and does it make sense? Today we will talk about it. If you guys are brand new to the channel, please do me a big gigantic favor. Hit that subscribe button. It's found right over here, and off we go.
T-minus 15 seconds.
Really quick before we get on with the video, I just want to make mention of the fact that I am doing 30% off on my Off We Go Racer X Edition hats. I have them in both black and red, and if you go to my Etsy store right now, I'll pin a link in the comments down below. I will give you 30% off, and I will sign it, and I will throw in one of my Racer X keychains just for being a supporter of the channel. So go get one of your Racer X Off We Go Edition hats, 30% off right now for the next week. Check out my Etsy store. On we go with the video. Now, for those of you guys that don't follow Stellantis, I completely get it. I will give you a very brief synopsis of what has happened over the course of the last 9 months or so. In December of last year, Carlos Tavares, the former CEO of Stellantis, resigned his position. A lot of his team left as well. Of course, we know Tim Kuniskis resigned a while back. And then, of course, he came back after Carlos Tavares resigned. Matter of fact, he came back basically the next day as the CEO over Ram. And when Carlos Tavares was here, he kind of took the Mopar brands down a very different path. He leaned very heavily on hybrid technology, electric technology. We know he gave us the electric Charger, which has not done well at all with the Mopar faithful. A lot of people did not like the Hornet, and a lot of people simply don't like the Hurricane engine. Now, I myself actually really do like the Hurricane engine. I think it has a lot of really good things. I like the power output that it produces. I mean, there's a lot of good things I would say about the Hurricane engine, but ultimately, Carlos Tavares, in his wisdom, decided to go away from the Hemi. They discontinued it, whether it be the 5.7, the 6.4, the Hellcat, which they still make in the Durango, but they were just making a few of those. But ultimately kind of went away from the roots of Mopar, and it pissed a lot of people off. Everybody was screaming, we need to get the Hemi back. And of course, now that Tim Kuniskis is back at Ram, one of the first things he decided to do was bring the 5.7 Hemi back to the 1500 Ram. And now we're starting to see the 2026s trickle in, and we're starting to see some of the 5.7 trucks pop up. This dealership I'm at today, this is my local dealership. They don't have any of them yet, but I did see them when I was out in Detroit, about a month ago or so. They had a whole bunch of them up there, and we know they're gonna start hitting dealerships really soon. But does it make sense? This is a 2026 Ram 1500 4x4 Bighorn Edition. It comes with a Hurricane standard output engine, 420 horsepower, 468 pound-feet of torque, and it is very capable. Now, some of the higher-end Rams, there's actually 10 different trims you can get in a Ram 1500, believe it or not. It is a lot, but if you get like a Tungsten or you get a Limited, you can actually get the high-output Hurricane with 550 horsepower, so a lot more than even the standard output Hurricane. But even the standard output Hurricane definitely feels faster when you drive it compared to a 5.7 Hemi. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the 5.7 Hemi. I think it's a fantastic, very proven engine. But believe it or not, the Hemi is actually a $1,200 option over the Hurricane. Now, if you get some of the lower end trims, like a Warlock, you can actually get 3 different engines. You can get a Pentastar, you can get this Hurricane, or you can get the 5.7 Hemi. And the 5.7 Hemi is actually the most expensive of those options at like $2,900 more than the Pentastar and like $1,200 more than this Hurricane, despite the fact that this Hurricane puts out more power and way more torque. It is definitely a faster truck to drive. This truck is actually about a full second faster in the quarter mile. Very, very capable, this truck. It also makes more power under the curve, the Hurricane does. A lot of great things I have to say about this Hurricane. So is it really worth it to get a 5.7 Hemi? Maybe they're taking a page out of Porsche's book where you're paying a lot more to get less. Because in my mind, that's kind of what's happening there. I know a lot of people hate on the Hurricane because they say it doesn't have a dipstick, or they say it gets too hot. I mean, there's a number of reasons that people say they just don't like it. The main reason that most people say they don't like the Hurricane is just because of the sound. But when you're talking about a more capable engine for, you know, less money, in my mind, it makes more sense to go with the Hurricane. Like I said, as much as I love the 5.7, as proven as that engine is, the fact you have a twin turbo Hurricane under the hood here for less money, I just don't quite understand why so many people would be willing to pay for less performance, less torque, less towing, right? So 11,600 pounds, the standard output Hurricane will tow. And it's a little bit cryptic in terms of trying to find a true towing number for 2026, but it's about the same, slightly less is actually what Dodge has it at. I think it's 300 or 400 pounds less, the 5.7 Hemi, but certainly on paper, the Hurricane is better in basically every way, except for, of course, sound, which is subjective. Now, I realize some people out there will say, oh, well, Racer X, you're just being a mouthpiece for Dodge or saying what they want or whatever. That has never been the case with me. I've always kind of given you my open, honest opinion. But just look at the two engines on paper. You're talking about a 5.7 Hemi that's old pushrod technology, a heavy iron block. There's a lot of stuff I feel like they could improve with the Hemi. That's one of the things I mentioned to Tim Kaniskis when I was recently up in Michigan. I said, look, why can't we make some improvements on the Hemi? I mean, there's so many different things we could change just to make it a little bit better. Maybe a new generation, we could still give a Hemi, but why not just make improvements? Now's the perfect opportunity to do it since there's this big refresh going on anyway. And he did acknowledge that he feels like maybe there is some room for improvement in the Hemi. Then you talk about something like a Hurricane that's a relatively new engine. You know, it's not pushrod technology, dual overhead cam. I mean, there's a lot of things about the Hurricane engine, how well it breathes, how well it deals with boost. We know the 5.7 and the 6.4 Hemis are not boost friendly really whatsoever. I mean, there's just a lot of things I would say that are better about the Hurricane. Like I said, I know the Hurricane will always have haters out there because it's different and because it's not an 8-cylinder. As I mentioned, guys, I'm a racer. I love an 8-cylinder to death. But at the end of the day, I just feel like this is a better engine in terms of just everything that it does. Now, when they start putting the 6.4 Hemi in these, and I believe that is going to be the case here, I don't think it's going to be for 2026, most likely for 2027, but I do believe that that is something that is on the horizon. I could go for a 6.4 and a 1500. I mean, I kind of wish they had done that a long time ago and not just put it in the Power Wagon because it is a fantastic, very torquey engine. But the 5.7, it just is not superior in my mind, especially for more money. That's what I'm trying to get over. And case in point, in the Grand Wagoneer, right? The 6.4, they were putting the 6.4 Hemi in the Grand Wagoneer in the lower trims. And then when you went to the higher trims, they put the high output Hurricane in it. So that was actually the upgraded engine compared to the 6.4 Hemi. So this just kind of goes to show you that, you know, it's not just about displacement sometimes. I realize the sound isn't there, guys. I know that's the big take with the six-pack car right now. Everybody's like, well, maybe it performs, but it just doesn't sound good. And I would agree to that to an extent. I know they're working on some different exhaust options for the trucks, also, you know, for the 2026 six-pack when it finally comes in. So there may be a little bit more of a throaty sound that comes out of that, but it's not going to sound like a Hemi. And I feel like so many people, you know, they have to make that decision, right? I mean, would you rather go for more performance, more towing, basically, you know, the engine's better in every way, or would you rather just have the sound? And you know what? It's subjective. You would just have to talk to people about it.
Hey, that thing got a Hemi? You're about to find out.
A couple other things to keep in mind when it comes to the 2026 Ram 1500, because as I mentioned before, there are 10 different trims in this. That is a whole bunch. Anything from the Tradesman, which is like your base, not very much in it, no bells and whistles, all the way up to the Tungsten, which is the bad daddy, every bell and whistle that you can imagine, super nice. I mean, the best of the best. And then you've got everything in between. Now, the 5.7 is almost like an experiment in my mind for Ram, because they're only putting it in 3 of the 10 trims. You get a Warlock, where, as I mentioned, you get a 3.6. You can also get the standard output Hurricane, or you can do the 5.7, and then you have 2 limited trims on the high end of the spectrum where you can opt for the 5.7, and for everything else, it's not even an option. Like the Tradesman, I think you can go for the standard output Hurricane, or you could go for the Pentastar. So really 3 different engine options you get, right? The V6 Pentastar, the standard output Hurricane, of course you have the high output Hurricane, and now you get the 4th one with the 5.7 Hemi. But like I said, only 3 trims, so you have to pick one of those 3 if you want the 5.7 Hemi. So it's not, you know, if you want a Rebel, that's more of like almost like a Baja style, more aggressive, you know, wheel setup, all that kind of stuff. I love the Rebel. I've had one before. Great package. Of course, also if you want to get the RHO, right? That's like the baby TRX almost with the high output Hurricane in it, but you can't get a 5.7 in that either. So there's a lot of different trims out there. The Bighorn, the one I'm in right now, the 5.7 Hemi, not an option. So like I said, it's either the Warlock if you want to stay on the low end of the spectrum, and you can see all this on the Ram's website, right? So if you want to go out and spec it, you can literally see what engine options are out there for the different trim levels, which is exactly what I did before I came out here. And I come to find only 3 different ones. So there's that. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm still glad they're bringing the 5.7 Hemi back to Ram. My biggest issue is just the way that the pricing is done, right? I feel like the 5.7 should definitely be less than the Hurricane. Think about the numbers. I mean, just from a numbers perspective, really in every way, the Hurricane is just superior. 395 horsepower, 410 pound-feet of torque in the Hemi, and then 420 horsepower, 468 pound-feet of torque, way more power under the curve. It tows more. So if they brought back, say, the 6.4 Hemi, well then, if they had the Hurricane at that lower price level and then they wanted to charge $2,000 more for a 6.4 that makes 485 horsepower and 475 pound-feet of torque, that would make sense. And I feel like a lot of people would pay the extra $2,000 for that. But why pay $2,000 for less performance just for the sound of it? I mean, like I said, I know some people will say, oh, well, the Hurricane is not reliable. And I don't feel like there's a lot of data out there that would really support that. I don't feel like I have any issue with the fact that thing doesn't have a dipstick. I mean, people will find any reason to hate on it, but I have driven a lot of these Hurricane trucks. I have driven a lot of the 5.7 trucks, and I feel like, other than the sound piece of it, it's a snappier truck to drive. I feel like it drives a little bit better. And I by no means am a 5.7 hater. If you get in one truck and go directly to another and drive them both back to back, you do feel a difference, not only in performance a little bit, with just power delivery. Oh, and here's a little straightaway right here. Power comes on instantly. Here it comes. It's really interesting to me when I talk to people who have actually purchased a Ram 1500 with a Hurricane in it, because you hear all these folks online just talking all sorts of crap about this engine, but yet everybody that I know that has purchased one and drives it regularly really likes the Hurricane engine. It's kind of weird how that works. And like I said, I know you have your purists out there. There will always be those folks, and there's nothing wrong with that, guys. Like I said, I am very much a V8 loving car enthusiast. But I still have to give the Hurricane its due. This is a really nice driving truck. The power delivery on it is very snappy. Driven a ton of 5.7s, and if I was going to buy one, in order, like if I had the option of buying a Hurricane, like a standard output Hurricane, and then buying like a Hemi, either a 5.7 or a 6.4, I think the 5.7 would be the lowest on my list. And I know that may rub people the wrong way, but like I said, I feel like the Hurricane maybe just is a little bit better engine. It's a more modern engine, and I really like it. I would have to work on the sound a little bit. I'd have to get MagnaFlow to hook me up with something to make it a little more throaty, because it is really quiet. I fully admit that. And you do notice it when you're driving the two trucks, but you also notice the difference in performance just and the way they handle. The Hurricane is awesome. Now, stick a 6.4 in here. I would pay $2,000 extra over the Hurricane even to get a 6.4 in this, just because of that initial thump that's so satisfying with the 6.4 Hemi. It may not outrun it on the highway like on the top end. Now, the hard choice would be between the 6.4 and the high output Hurricane, because that high output Hurricane really puts out some power, and it's different. You definitely feel a difference between the standard output and the high output Hurricane. But you know what? For right now, I don't have that option, so I don't really have to worry too much about it. But between the 5.7 Hemi and the Hurricane powered truck, I got to go with this one, and for less money, why not? Anyway, guys, that is my take on the argument between the 5.7 Hemi or the Hurricane. In my mind, the Hurricane is just a better, more capable engine. So if I was going to buy one, I would buy the Hurricane. Plus, I would save a little bit of money by doing so. Like I said, it just doesn't make sense to me to be paying extra money to get less. Like I said, when the 6.4 finally shows up in this, maybe that's a little bit of a different story. I can't wait to review that vehicle for you. But guys, I would like to hear it. Let me know in the comments. Are you more of a traditional, I need the 5.7, who cares about the Hurricane, despite the fact it makes more power? Or are you like, no, you know what, you're right. Maybe, it's less money, it's more capable. Maybe that's the way to go. I would love to hear it in the comments, and I will catch you on the next one. So until then, Racer X.